welcome my friends. I am so excited to have you guys back during our Star Wars week. If you haven't joined us yet, you should go back into our YouTube channel to check out our videos where we make some fun Star Wars projects. We've got R2-D2 that lights up. We've got a little Millennium Falcon with boosters that light up. We got a Death Star, and today we are gonna make our X-Wing fighter. All right, I'm super excited for this one. The template looks a little bit scary, but we're gonna go through it together. And there's not as much folding as there was before. And to be honest, I think once we get the wire down, it's gonna be a little bit easier to make those LEDs work because we're not folding around the LEDs like we have in the past. I'm gonna go over what we need to make today's project, so if you don't have it ready, you can run and go grab it. And then if you want a shout out, you can put it in our comments box and we'll get that to you as well. And a quick shout out for next week's Paper Surge Circuit project, we're gonna start doing a circuit city. So this is a little car, it's got the little headlights that turn on, and we'll be able to decorate all these fun things. We're gonna have a house, a building, car slash bus, because we have a bigger version of this that you can make into a bus, and
stop sign. Stoplight.
Oh, a stoplight. That's right. We're gonna make a stoplight where you can make it red, green, or yellow, which will be really cool. So that's gonna be a lot of fun next week coming up. So make sure you stay tuned. We are live every weekday at 9 a.m. We'll be on YouTube and in Zoom. So if you're a parent who doesn't want your kid on YouTube, you can always go to our Zoom room where we have our live class with interaction, and then we also can have some troubleshooting time together, or just time to hang out and learn about the cool summer camps people are going to with zip lines that I'm a little jealous about. All right, so for today's project, you need our printout. This would have been in your Patreon email. If you're not a patron of ours, you can always go over to patreon.com/rosieresearch, and that gets you all of these awesome downloads. I again suggest printing it on like a little bit of a harder, thicker paper. So we use cardstock cover paper for ours, which just gives our projects a little bit of like, I don't know, strength and muscle so that they don't crunch so easily, and that helps the LEDs hang on really good, and it makes your projects easier to make. So you need that printout. You're gonna need some copper tape. So this is the conductive tape. You can get it at your garden store or online. This creates little highways for our electrons to flow on, and we will use our templates to control what those highways look like and do. You need a battery to power your project. We use CR2032 batteries, but you can use other coin cell batteries as long as they say 3 volts on them, and you can always find that on the top. There's usually a plus sign and a whole bunch of writing. It'll tell you what kind it is, but it'll also usually give you the voltage. So you want a 3 volt. If you get a 1.5 volt, it's not going to work for you. You need some LEDs. We're gonna use red today, and if you were with us yesterday, you might not be able to use red with other colors. So if you want to do like red and blue, the red will be power hungry. It'll steal everything from the battery, and the blue will get nothing. So in that situation, you want to make sure you're using like all red, or you've pre-tested the colors you're going to do. And the way you can do that is if you attach all of your LEDs to your battery, the legs have to go around the battery. So one on the top and one on the bottom. And the long leg needs to be by the plus sign, and you can make sure before you start your project, we're gonna use 4 LEDs. I wanted 4 red LEDs, so I wanna make sure my battery can power 4 red LEDs. And if it can't, you need to make a different choice about your LEDs. All right, so we'll need those LEDs and that battery. You need some non-conductive tape, so some tape that does not act like actual highways for these electrons to go on. That's tape like Scotch tape, masking tape, washi tape, duct tape, all those types of tape. So I'm using some Scotch tape. You need some scissors so that we can cut our template out, and then we need some markers. And that is all we need. That's all we're gonna need all summer long, which is kind of great. It makes everything a little bit easier in terms of figuring out what we need to do a little bit of science together, a whole lot of fun together, and a lot of art and engineering together too. All right, let's see. Who do we have with us today?
We have coming up number 1.
Boom, ba-da-bum.
Venetia!
Hello, Venetia! I'm so excited you're here with us today. I love it. Venetia is the one that's got the super awesome summer camp coming up. We're gonna miss you next week.
We're gonna totally miss her.
But I think she's gonna have so much fun. Oh my goodness.
Then, following her, we've got Kailani and Keiko.
Hello, Kailani and Keiko. here all week too. I hope you guys are having fun playing with your little projects. They're pretty great.
They're amazing projects.
I know.
Yeah, I really like that they light up and they're Star Wars.
And you guys you could build like a whole empire at home now during your like KRL summer learning time. Yeah. And that's totally learning time because you're engineering and building things. Might drive your parents crazy because then you have this big Star Wars world, but it's also a big Star Wars world, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
It's amazing.
I know.
And you should be flying these ships around.
You should totally be flying these ships around.
And R2-D2 should be beeping everywhere.
Yes. And giving like holograms.
And running into the wall.
And just doing silly things.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Totally agreed.
I can't believe that we haven't done that. But we should make like a little video of them.
We should. Oh, that would be cute. That would be cool. Well, now we'll have our starfighter.
Yeah, we can finally defend.
Yes.
And we'll have
we didn't want to get obliterated before with the Star Destroyer.
We have Naomi!
Hello, Naomi! I'm so excited you're here. And look, your week is coming up, Naomi. All for you. We've got a fun little... I'm really excited to see what you do at the Circuit City. Naomi was really bummed out that our last week we didn't get to Circuit City in our school year of science.
12 weeks.
But we're going to get to our Circuit City in our summer of science.
We got Mr. Johnny Good.
Hello, John. It's awesome to see you today, too. And he's an awesome Lego builder.
Oh my gosh.
I'm super excited.
I know that he is. Let me see if there's anybody else. There's me.
Evan!
Oh, there's Dr. Erica. What?
Yay, hi, me!
And I think it's time to start building.
All right. So if you have your template, our first thing that we're going to do is we are going to cut and crease our template. So we're going to cut along these solid black lines, and then we're going to crease along the gray lines. All right, and you do want to save this little rectangle that we're going to cut out because that's going to be our switch to make sure our circuit is not always on. Because that's always handy. Sometimes when you make paper circuits, you might make it and it works, but then if you can't turn it off, it makes it a little bit tricky because you'll burn through your battery pretty quickly. And I mean, not so fast that, I mean, we're talking a few days. You'll burn through your battery in a few days. But that can be frustrating to spend all this time on making a paper circuit and then having to remake it just a few days later. That's not very cool. So we thought of this fun little switch. It's like an accordion switch that really works well and it saves that battery. And it's sort of fun. I mean, you have to press it to make it light up, but I figure you guys are playing with these. Hopefully. We're playing with them, so that makes it more fun anyhow. Because then you could even, like, press it when you want to fire the lasers and leave it off when you don't. So that's kind of fun. Alright, so this is the circuit template piece that we'll want, and we can put that to the side for right now. I'm going to cut out my little switch. I want to be careful not to lose this. It is just a rectangle, so if you lose it, we'll be able to accordion fold another little rectangle to put in that spot, and that won't be a problem. And then this is going to be the body that goes on top. So we're just going to cut out this body on top.
Do you have any tips for cutting?
Cutting tips. Well, I'm about to do one thing that I like. Sometimes I have all this paper right here, and it's kind of a pain, so sometimes I like to just cut off a big chunk of it. And here, where I have like a big corner, what I can do is I can go in just to that one spot and then I can come down. And that's a nice way to get a good cut right there. And so I can do that too. I can cut that all the way off. Sometimes with cutting, it's just easier to come from different angles. And I rotate my paper a lot. Evan doesn't always like that for video. But I like to rotate my paper a lot to make it easier to cut instead of a fixed position.
As long as it doesn't go up and down too much. I got more room with the sideways actually.
And then also, so here I could go like up, over, up, over, up, over, up, over, like that. But I'm just going to go all the up at one spot like that. And that's a little trick I've learned. And then these guys, what you can do is you can cut the two sort of pieces that make it into a leg. Like that, and sometimes what you can do is you can take this little piece out and then you can get in a good spot to snip. And maybe it's not what you want right away, but sometimes you can just sort of go in and now you have less paper there and you can make it a little better. So a lot of times to get good cutting, it's less about going all in one line and more about just like doing little pieces at a time. I'm gonna come over here and cut that. All right, so that is gonna be my body for the X-Wing fighter. And now we are going to crease all of our stuff. So first we'll crease this guy. This one only has 2 creases and they're right in this middle piece. So it's gonna basically have like a rectangle that hangs out. You can almost see that rectangle right there. And we always wanna crease into our circuit so that we're hiding the circuit, and that just helps protect our circuit. So there's 2 creases, one sort of at the top where this triangular wing meets right there, and then one on the other side so it's symmetrical. And we'll just crease those 2 guys. So you just have these 2 creases that you'll notice is sort of has got that rectangle right there. And we have these creases. So that's that one. This one, again, we're gonna fold everything in towards itself so that we can hide all of the printing lines and make it pretty. If you want, you can decorate this before you fold it up and tape it, of course. But I've got this top tab that I'm gonna crease down. I like to press really good on those creases, so that guy there. And then I'm gonna sort of crease right along. If you're folding it, you might find it tricky, but I notice that it's at this point right here. So I'm just going to sort of fold, and I like to put my fingernails sort of right onto that line as I'm bending my paper up. That works really well if you have like a cardstock paper. You can sort of press and bend, and that will give you a nice crease at that spot that you want. So again, what I do is I sort of hold my fingers, I can put my fingernails on this line, and I can sort of roll bend it a little bit first and get it sort of ready, and then I can crease it. And that makes it easier to crease where I need to crease, which is handy. And if this is the first time that you've joined us, the reason why we crease everything before is it helps our circuit stay really stable. Instead of like building the circuit and then folding everything after, we already sort of have the folds. We don't have to put all this pressure on the paper after the circuit's already in there. We're doing that before. All right, so I have this one last guy that I'm just gonna roll and get ready, and then I'll crease it down. And of course, the better and more precise you crease, the better your project will be. Just like paper airplanes, you always want to spend that little extra time. So this part's actually pretty much done. It's gonna fold up like a big rectangle. Yeah, I gotta get that like that. And then this will slip onto our starfighter. I wouldn't tape it right now because if you're gonna decorate it, you really wanna decorate it before you tape it. I'm gonna put that guy to the side for the moment. And then the press switch we can also crease. This one, we're gonna crease like an accordion. So it's gonna be a zigzag. So you're gonna crease one direction towards this way and the other time the other way. So I'm gonna go the other direction now. I'm gonna flip it back on itself. So you can see it's getting like a little Z. I'm gonna flip back this way, just like that. And then I can probably fit one more and I'll go back the other direction. So I'm flip-flopping which way my switch goes. And I get this little, whoop, it's very little. I get this little zigzaggy, springy switch. All right, so that's how we fold that one. We just do a little bit one way, and then we fold the whole thing the other, and we just sort of zigzag, flip-flop it. And we can put that guy to the side. And now we are ready to wire it up. All right, so on our instructions, it says wire up the 3 orange ones. So there's 1, 2, 3 orange ones, and the 1 yellow one, which is up here. All right, we wanna make sure that each of these lines is a single line of copper tape, that we're not ripping them. That's particularly important for these ones that sort of come down and go into the circle. When they go into the green circle, we want to make sure we go into the green circle. We don't want to just hit that tiny corner of the green circle. We want it inside the green circle pretty decently well, because that's what our battery is going to sit on, okay? And then this one, there's actually a little grayed out circle up here. That's where it's going to end up being on the top of the battery, all right? That tells you the location of the battery. So for the ones that go into the top circle, like this yellow one, we need to make sure we're in that light gray top circle so that we touch the top of our battery. All right, so that's really important. I'm gonna put this on my Curious George book, and we can get taping those first 4 lines, the 3 orange ones and the 1 yellow one. All right, let's get that guy ready. And again, I like to measure my copper tape out. If it's your first time with us, don't forget, I'll show you what happens if you peel the tape from your backing. So the tape is sticky only when you peel this white backing off, kind of like a sticker. If you take it all the way off, it gets really stringy. You'll also notice sometimes it even rips a little bit as it's coming off. So you gotta be careful about both of those things, which make it really difficult to make your circuit work. Instead, what I like to do after I measure it and give myself a little extra, I peel it and I stick it straight onto the paper. When I get it started, you gotta get your nail between the copper tape and that white paper right there to get it started. And once I get it started, I could have like just a little bit started, just like that. And I can put it right on down. I'm gonna stick it right to the paper, just like that. And now I can continue to pull on the white to peel that backing off and then press it down onto the paper, just like that. It's okay if it gets wobbly, that's not a big deal. And when you need to make a turn, what you do is you give yourself some extra and you go further down in the circuit and you just press it where you want further down. I have this big wobble here, but I'll just press that down with my finger and now I've made that turn. I'm gonna come all the way to over here. And then you can either use scissors to cut that tape or you can just use your nail, which is really handy. And then I like to use my thumbnail and press it down. So there's one of the orange ones. Now we're gonna do this orange one that has like a Y, and it's 2 orange pieces that come down like this. So those will be 2 separate pieces of tape. I'm gonna get my tape started again. And I'll start right up here, so I'm gonna stick it down. And I'm going to press it as I peel. Okay. And then when I get to here, I need to make that bend down. I don't want to rip it because I want to keep the same highway for my little electrons. So you could either pull up and press a little, you can press down, you can give yourself some space, just as long as this doesn't rip when you make that turn. And then I'm going to, again, just sort of rip that tape at the bottom, and I can press this all flat like that. Notice I'm really in that green circle. All right, so now I'm gonna take my last orange one, and then we'll also do this yellow one. So we're doing 4 rails. We're skipping the red right now. So you should not be doing the red rails yet. I've got a little trick in store before we do that. All right. So then I'm gonna take my piece of copper tape, I'm gonna stick it down like that. And I'm gonna sort of do the other side of this. Ah! Oops, I pulled it up too much. I ripped it, so this is what I'm gonna do. That's perfect. I'm going to gently pull this stuff up right here. I'm not gonna try to reconnect at the point that it ripped. I'm just gonna get a new piece of copper tape and I'm going to restart my copper tape. And that's no big deal. It's nothing to get upset about. Happens to the best of us. It even happens to me. Sometimes my circuits don't work either. And that's okay. Sometimes we just need a little perseverance, a little trial and effort. Troubleshooting sometimes. Not a big deal.
Yeah, yesterday you had a circuit that stopped working after you tried bending it.
Yeah.
Ready to figure it out.
That's what happens in science. We just figure things out. I think just to be a scientist, all you have to do is just be calm in the face of having to figure something out. That's all it really is. All right, I'm gonna put this down here like that. And then I'm gonna do my yellow piece. That's the 4th piece I'm going to do before my little trick happens. And again, for this yellow piece, we do need to make sure we get into this light gray circle. We can't touch any of the tape that's already down. All right, because the tape that's down all goes to the bottom of the battery. The tape I'm about to put down is going to go to the top of the battery, and I don't want to touch the top of the battery to the bottom of the battery because the electrons will say, ooh, that's the easiest route possible. I'll just go there, and I don't need to worry about anything like going through LEDs and lighting up. And we would really prefer that those LEDs light up. That's what makes these projects special. So we want to make sure we don't give them any easy shortcuts. So make sure you get into that gray circle right there. And again, we're going to have to bend it to come back up. So you can take your piece and you can sort of wobble it, press it down where you want it to go, and then this part that looks all icky, we just swoosh down, and then it looks fine. That's the other nice thing about hiding our circuits, like all the little, if you have crazy copper tape, it doesn't matter. We're just going to hide it. All right. Oops, that's a little long. Let's rip that shorter. There we go. So I have my 4 pieces of copper tape down. I'm going to press them with my thumb. And again, I made sure that these guys go well into the green circle and that this one up here goes into this gray circle. All right. Now, these 2 LEDs, they have 2 pieces of copper tape, you'll notice. They have the short legs that go to the bottom of the battery, and they have the long legs that will go to what will be the top of our battery. These LEDs would light up right now. But these LEDs, they only have one set of legs going to the bottom of the battery. They're not a complete circuit. They need to get back to the top. So we're going to go on this red copper tape line, but you'll notice it'd be like, Dr. Erica, you told me that the lines to the bottom of the battery and the lines to the top of the battery can't touch. And here are some lines to the bottom. So if I put a copper tape here, I'm clearly crossing over them, and that means that they're touching. You might be like, Dr. Erica, what's going on? And you would be completely right. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to add a piece of tape here to make sure that when we lay these copper tape lines coming to the top of the battery for those LEDs, that they don't touch any of the tape that's in the bottom. So then what we do is we just need to take a piece of tape. I cut mine a little bit too big. The only thing you need to be careful about while putting this tape down is that you don't tape over the green circle, because that would be bad. We want that part to connect. And we don't tape like all the way over into like up here. Okay, it's okay if it touches the bottom of the gray circle because we're still gonna put that tape down. We haven't done it yet. We do wanna make sure that we put it down enough so that when we put these down and we make this turn, it doesn't touch. If you're worried about it, what you could do is you could even put 2 pieces of tape down. You could put one down here that is like right at the top of the green battery, and you could even take another piece and you could put it a little further up if you're nervous that they're gonna touch. You could take another piece of tape and put it further up.
Do we have
just like that?
Not clear tape?
Ah, do we have not clear tape?
It's hard to see what you did.
I don't know, but you know what? I'll do this. I will color over where I've put my tape at. So I have tape. I have plastic tape that's right here. This is all plastic tape. You can even tell because my marker is a little bit wobbly. So I've got plastic, a nice big chunk of plastic tape right there. Okay? And that is an insulative layer. So then I can have a highway that goes to the bottom of the battery down here. And I built an air gap and I built a different highway up here. And just like cars can't just magically go from one highway to the next, neither can our electrons. It's going to be great. So we've built sort of a dual layer highway now. So again, make sure when you put that tape down, you don't cover up the green circle. Notice my tape is not covering up the green circle, that black area I colored in for you. And it is covering up these 2 lines so that I have a distance, a separation between my 2 copper tape highways for those electrons when I put in these red lines. All right. And again, as long as you don't cover this piece of it or this circle, you can you can scotch tape a lot of that area. Not a big deal. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to do these 2 red lines because these are the 2 LEDs that currently can't light up because they don't have any connection to what will be the top of our battery. I'll check in. Do we have any questions?
I don't see any questions, but we might want to slow down a little bit and just tell what we did.
Okay. So far we have done, there were 4 lines. There was 3 orange lines, which we can't see anymore because we put copper tape over them. One of them was this guy right here. And again, we made sure that got into our circle at the bottom of our battery. And then we had two, one each, that came down like this. That's 1, 2, 3 that all go to the bottom of our battery. And then we had this one here that goes to the top of our battery, which is indicated by that light gray circle. And we want to connect these two lines right here to the top of our battery. So we need to connect them into this gray circle. But we can't touch these lines that go to the bottom of the battery. That will break our circuit. It will do what we call short circuiting. It'll create a shorter path for those electrons to go through, and they will always choose it. So what we did is we separated our two highways. We separated the bottom from what will soon be the top through some non-conductive tape, Scotch tape, masking tape, duct tape, in this little area that I have now colored in with black. All right, and then once you have that, we are ready to go for our last two pieces. So we'll get this guy started, and we will just follow along right like this. We're gonna come over, we're gonna go, and now we gotta bend it, so I'm gonna give myself a little extra space, and I'm gonna bend it up. I'm gonna bend mine back right now because it doesn't want to. Sometimes if it doesn't want to fold, you could actually bend it the wrong way, and then you can helps you bend it up some. All right, and I'm gonna make sure I'm inside that gray circle when I rip that. That one's well within that gray circle, and that looks good. And then I just have to do the other side. And now all 4 LEDs will have a wire that individually go to the bottom of the battery and the top of the battery. What's nice about that, because each LED itself touches the bottom of the battery and each LED itself touches the top of the battery, they are called in parallel. And so if one doesn't work, it doesn't break your whole circuit. If you had them in series, that would be one touching the bottom of the battery and then holding hands with another one and holding hands with another one, holding hands here, and then that one touching. And the problem with that is if any of these that are holding hands have a problem, then it doesn't work. Your whole circuit doesn't work instead of just that one light. So that is a nice thing about being in parallel, where everything touches the battery, versus in series where they're sort of holding hands as a big daisy chain. All right, so now we want to put in our LEDs. They're gonna go on these little corner pieces, just there. And each side is labeled a long leg and a short leg. So again, we do need to make sure that we are really aware of where that long leg and that short leg are. And you wanna make sure you tape them to the right thing. And we're gonna go around and tape in our 4 LEDs. All right, you wanna spread the legs a little bit so that they don't, accidentally have one on the line and one on paper. The short leg is on paper, and that's not gonna work. They both need to touch their respective pieces of copper tape. So the long leg is on this rail that's labeled long leg, and the short leg is on this rail that's labeled short leg. And you're just gonna use a piece of Scotch tape, masking tape, duct tape, non-conductive tape to tape that in. You can just hold it like that, and I can tape it in, and then I can press. I like to press really hard right on those legs to make sure they get good contact. I noticed I actually kind of wanted my LED a little further out. So what I can do is I can just pick it up and smush it out some. I wanted mine off the edge of the paper. You might want yours differently, that's okay. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but I kind of wanted mine off the edge so that in the ship it's sort of peeking off the sides. All right, so I'm gonna get that in there. Now I'm gonna do this side. So again, I'm gonna line up my long leg and my short leg. I'm gonna pay attention a little bit more to where my LED is at as I tape it. And, let's double check. If you're not sure, if you forget which one's which, you just push the legs together and double check. It's easier to do that now than it is to wonder what is happening later, like why it won't light up. All right, so I'm gonna tape this one in. Just like that. I can rub it down really nicely. And I've got to do these 2 up here, and then we will test our circuit, which is pretty handy. Well, I guess we'll put our battery in, and then we'll test our circuit. All right, so again, my short leg now is at this bottom part. My long leg is here. And it will say that on your template for you. Now we're going to tape this guy in too.
It's such a nice template you made.
I know. It's really hard to make these templates when you can't print on both sides. Sometimes it'd be a lot easier if we had two-sided printing, but that would be really hard with cardstock. So.
And for people at home.
And for people at home, yeah, it would be exceedingly difficult. Although our traffic light next week is very interesting because of the inability to print on both sides. And that's okay though. It creates a nice challenge for me. And I like challenges. Alright, so I'm just going to put this guy in now. And you might want to double check that all of your legs are taped in, right, with Scotch tape or masking tape, not copper tape. You might want to double check that all 8 of these legs are touching a copper tape rail. You're going to want to check that none of these 2 pieces of copper tape that come together are touching. See how I have white between all of my pieces of copper tape? That's all really important. All right, and now...
Did you test all the LEDs by themselves?
We did test all of the LEDs before. We made sure that our battery would do all 4 LEDs at one time. And that is really important because maybe your battery can do 2 LEDs but not 3. So you want to make sure. And if that's the case, you need to choose a different type of LED. All right, so to test it, we already have our folds in here, right? It already folds over like this, so that all that circuit is on the inside. And to test it, all we have to do is take our battery and slip it in. We're not even going to tape it in yet. We're just going to test. We're going to slip it in onto the green circle, just like that. And I can still see the signs, the lettering. All right? So it's in the green circle, and then when I press it down, all 4 of my LEDs light up, which is just what we want. So what we'll do is we are now going to tape this battery in. And I'm realizing I normally do that on Curious George. Maybe Evan can get it on the table for us. We do need to make sure that as we tape our battery in, we don't tape over the top, because remember, if we tape over the top, that prevents our electrons from using that pathway, right? So we need to make sure that we tape sort of along the edges, the itty-bitty edges of our battery. So I always just do a little tiny bit. I mean, it's just a small bit of the battery that gets covered up, and then I actually fold it around the battery. And then we can do that here too. We can do that, and we can fold it around the battery. And now my battery is in. So it's taped in, not over the top, just on these little tiny edges, like just right there. That's what's holding it in.
Use your marker to show?
Yeah. So here I've got tape. Let's see. I'm going to put it down for a sec. I've got tape. My piece of tape looks like this. It's sort of like smushed and bent. Like this. So I have these like 2 little pieces of tape that are covering just a little bit of the battery, not covering the whole top.
That's so it can touch, right?
Yes, that's so that these guys in this gray circle can touch the top of the battery. Because if they can't, I don't have a complete circuit. And that's a bummer. Now I can test it. I gotta push it down. All of them light up, and you might be like, but Dr. Erica, that doesn't quite look like what I had, and that's because I just folded. I just pressed these pieces together and these guys together, just like that. You don't even have to bend it. It's really just like a fold. And now I've got all 4 of my LEDs lighting up. If you have some that are a little tricky, you can try pressing them. We also have a troubleshooting PDF guide that came with all of our templates, but you might also want to change where you press, because if I press here on my battery, I get just 1. If I press further in, I get all 4. And that's actually the same thing on this one. If I press sort of further in a different spot, I think I can get 2 of them. Yeah, I can get 2 to light up, but not all 4. So I need to just find where I press. And the easiest way to do that, just move where you press.
That might be good for if you're in a fighter battle and you
Yeah.
need to only shoot half your things.
Yes, you could be like, pew, 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 and then maybe somebody else comes in and you're like, oh my gosh, everybody fire! And then you only need half. That's kind of cool too. All right, so yeah, make sure, just practice of where you're pressing. You can also use like a longer, instead of pressing like this, where I get 2, you can press more with your fingers down. So instead of like straight up, you can press further down, and that gives you just more pressure on that battery, because we need to make sure all 4 of those circuits we just wired up, you just wired up 4 circuits, all 4 of them have to be completed to light up each one. But isn't it handy that it still works? Let's see if I can get just 1 again, or even 2. It still works when I have 2. If these were in series and they were all connected, nothing would be working right now, and that can be really frustrating. So I can get some of them to work or all of them to work, but something will work to get it started, which is always so exciting. All right, so I have this. You don't need to tape down here because we don't want to like, I guess actually you could tape that down, it's not on. But we have a little pressure switch that we put in ours so that it's always gonna pop up off of it. So I have like a little spring in here so that it's not always on. All right, and that's that switch that we accordion folded earlier. So remember we folded this way, and then we took everything and folded that way, and then we took everything and folded this way. And there's 2 purple lines. One's right here, one's right there, that we're gonna tape this accordion switch to. All right, and so you just need a little piece of tape. And what I like to do is I actually like to get the tape inside that first accordion piece like that, so I can just hold it on the tape. And then what I can do is I can tape that onto one of these 2 purple lines. Oops, but don't cover. Ooh, I just noticed I almost did something. I almost covered this part of my circuit with tape. That would have been bad because then that part of the circuit, which needs to touch the top of the battery, couldn't. So what I'm gonna do after noticing that, I'm gonna cut this tape shorter. It's gonna be a smaller piece of tape. So now I just have a little bit coming out so that it doesn't touch those copper tape wires. And I'm gonna tape that on like that. And then I can press it down like it's a spring, just like that. And I'm gonna tape it over to this side, and that's a little trickier. I'm gonna use a tiny piece of tape again. I'll just cut this one in half. And I'm gonna put it face up now because I wanna tape to this, which will be up. I'm gonna tape it on the underside of that, just like that. So again, I've got it sort of taped to that little accordion piece, and I'm gonna tape that piece to my purple line on the other side. And that will give me, I can just press it like that. That keeps that little guy in there. And you notice how it lifts it off the battery. So that when I'm not playing with this, the battery is not getting used. And then I just use my fingers to press it, right? And this is kind of cool. It looks like I might be able to get 2 easier now if you want to do 2 versus 4, which is really cool. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to add in our actual ship part, because we have the wings and we have the lasers, but we don't have the ship. And again, if you want, you can just sort of smush these apart more, because you know, they really need to look like an X. So they look like that now, which is cool. And so this part, we're just gonna tape right along this seam to tape it down. I would do this part after you decorate. So if you wanted to decorate this part, I would fold it open, decorate the side that's white, and then do this part. So you could hit pause if you need some time to do that. And then when you're ready, these 2 pieces, they get taped together just like that. And part of that is because once you put this tape down, markers don't like that tape very well. And then this part just sort of comes over the top. You can just put a piece of tape that closes that ship piece. Like that. And then you'll notice you have these little, I don't know, tabs, skirt legs, and they go right over here, just like this, so that you have your ship that comes out. And we gotta do this piece here, and you can light them up, just like that. And you got your ship. If you wanted a smaller ship, you could cut this down some, but I think it looks pretty cool the way it is. And then you just gotta find, again, your spot where everything lights up. And you have an awesome X-Wing Star Destroyer! Those ones that we made yesterday, they're gonna have to watch out because we are coming for them. If you want to also connect this, you could just add a piece of tape around the back. I hadn't thought about that until just this moment. so that these guys are now permanently connected. And you have this great switch, and you just got to find out where you press it. And again, if you want, you can always sort of press the legs of the LEDs. The nice thing about this circuit is the LED legs are exposed, so it's really easy to see. Bad thing about that is maybe when you're throwing it, they might get bonked. So that's something that if you throw it and it lands, it might bonk your LEDs. No big deal. You just need to go in and maybe retape the legs back together. All right. I hope you guys had an awesome time making our X-Wing Star Destroyer, and I hope that you have a chance to play with it with all of our other pieces. And tomorrow we're going to make a fun little bobblehead character. You'll get to decide if you're on the good side or the light side or the dark side, and what character you want to make. Maybe it's just a character like Luke. Maybe you want to make Chewie. I know that Frankie and Iris wanted to make Ewoks, which I think would be super cute because I love Ewoks. Maybe you want to be Darth Vader or the Sith. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow as we make those fun little bobblehead characters. I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I will head on over into our Zoom room to help you guys troubleshoot if you found problems with our paper circuits. Otherwise, I hope that we see you tomorrow.
Can you tell us about what the Zoom room is for people who might be just joining?
Yes, for people who are just joining, our Zoom room is where we go after our live YouTube show, and we hang out together, we talk about life, we troubleshoot circuits, so there's a lot of like, hold it up, let me see, and then we get your circuits working, which is amazing. I mean, we are like, I think everybody's gotten circuits working the entire time for like the past 14 weeks, which is kind of amazing. Again, it's a safe space for us to hang out and talk together. It's only accessible for people who are our patrons, but you can go to patreon.com/RosieResearch, and we want science for everyone, so it is as low as $1 a week, which is $4 a month. That is the price of your coffee. You could have daily STEM programming coming into your house. Do what you want to do, skip what you don't want to do. The supplies all summer are what you see here, so it's going to be really easy and really fun, super creative, and a great way to add schedule and structure into your day. All right, my friends, we will see you tomorrow on YouTube at 9 a.m., and I'll see all of my friends in Zoom right now. Have a great afternoon.